This is the 2019 Leisure Wheels Adventure Special, and this year we headed to a place called Mozambique in Mozambique. And what a magical place it is! Getting to Mozambique is not as easy as you may think. Set on the peninsula just south of the Mozambique capital of Maputo, you can reach Mozambique either by boat or 4x4. The boat trip from Maputo to Santa Maria takes about an hour. The other option is to drive all the way through the Maputo Special Reserve on a twee-spoor sand track for almost 70 kilometers. We chose the 4x4 route and also brought along a total of 9 4x4s and some guests who joined us in this little piece of paradise. We had a mixed bag of 4x4s, from a tiny Suzuki Jimny to a big Land Rover Discovery and a Hvar H9, to a number of double cab buckies and a bucky-based SUV. We met our guests at the Maputo International Airport and then transported them to the Katemba Gallery Hotel, where they enjoyed the first of many amazing seafood meals. From the hotel, the convoy of 4x4s headed south to the entrance of the Maputo Special Reserve, where a special guest was waiting. Miguel Conchalve is the head ranger of the Ponta de Oro Partial Marine Reserve, and he's won several awards for the groundbreaking conservation work he's been doing in the area, especially in regard to loggerhead turtle conservation. But back to our trip, and after entering the Maputo Special Reserve, we still had around 60 kilometers to go before the convoy reached the Mozambique Game Reserve, with plenty of sand driving on the cards. This is the main road, or rather track, to reach Mozambique. In the hot summer months, the sand can be particularly tricky to navigate. There's only the one track, so you also have to be aware of vehicles coming from the front on the same track. Finally, after the convoy spent some quality time exploring some of the peninsula's sand tracks, the group of 4x4s arrived at Loggerhead Lodge. After a long day in the air and on the road for our guests, celebrity chef Callie Ann Gavazzi prepared the first of several outstanding seafood dinners, washed down with some cold dosh and beer. Time for a quick break. When we return, the Mozambique adventure goes for a swim. The convoy of 4x4s all made it to the idyllic Loggerhead Lodge in the Mozambique Private Game Reserve in Mozambique. The Leisure Wheels crew had some work to do, but our guests, well, they were in for a bit of a treat. The convoy headed to the Santa Maria outpost and the famous Bermugis, a popular hub where you can buy an ice-cold dosh M, rent a room, or take a swim in the swimming pool. You can also rent a boat or two, some crew, organize a seafood beach braai, and throw in some snorkels and flippers and head over the island of Inchaka. And that's exactly what we did, as our guests settled in for a day of spectacular rest and recreation. As mentioned earlier, the Mozambique Peninsula forms part of the Maputo Special Reserve. Located on Maputo Bay, the reserve is nearly 80,000 hectares in size. Originally proclaimed in 1932, the Mozambique Civil War devastated the area and the wildlife population between 1977 and 1991. There was a time, they say, when you couldn't even hear the chatter of birds. Nowadays, the area is a hive of wildlife activity and tourism is booming too. Meanwhile, back on the mainland, the Leisure Wheels editorial team was hard at work evaluating and driving all the 4x4s. Let's check out those 4x4s while our guests relax. We'll check in again with them later. Land Rover's latest discovery is big and bold. Powered by a twin-turbo V6 diesel engine, the Landy has 190 kilowatts of power and 600 Newton-meters of torque on tap, sent to all four wheels via a smooth 8-speed automatic gearbox. It's just the medicine for these sandy tracks. See tough sandy hill up ahead? Add more right foot, and tough sandy hill is conquered. Even though it may now look more the city slicker part, it still has a transfer case, an air suspension and fancy electronics that ensure that it's very good in an off-road environment too. Land Rover's award-winning terrain response system is standard too, and it works a charm in sorting out the traction details. Probably the most impressive thing about the Disco was the effortless nature in which the air suspension and smart electronics sorted out the rough tracks. In the cabin, it was all plush and comfy. At 1.2 million rand, it was the most expensive 4x4 on this adventure. From big to small, the new Suzuki Jimny has proven to be a runaway success for the brand, with waiting lists in many markets around the globe. We reckon Suzuki's designers got the styling pretty much spot on. Modern, yet retro. Cool, yet more practical than before. A new 1.5-litre engine with 75 kilowatts and 130 Newton-meters of torque ensures that the light Jimny can now actually maintain a cruising speed of 120 kilometers if you want to. The drivetrain is still proper 4x4, so you get a transfer case, and a new brake LSD traction control system is standard. It's even more capable off-road than before. The cabin is still just rarely suited to 2 people and luggage, but it's now a lot more comfortable than before, with all the modern tricks like Bluetooth connection and USB ports. The little Jimny, selling for 325,000 rand, hardly broke a sweat in the sand. It's a real little gem. Mitsubishi's latest Triton bucky was one of the biggest surprises on this adventure. It may now look more like a fashion statement than a hardcore blast bucky, but under the fancy new skin is still a tough-as-nails Mitsubishi bucky. And the brand's excellent Super Select 4-wheel drive system has a unique party trick. With Super Select, you can choose between the following driving modes: 2 high, 4 high with an open center differential, 4 high with a locked center differential, and 4 low range. So you can drive it in 4-wheel drive on a tar road without worrying about axle wind-up. The 2.5-litre turbo diesel mill delivers 133 kilowatts and 430 Newton-meters. And although it won't blow your hair back, it's certainly no slouch either. Throw in a very comfortable and luxurious cabin, the smart looks, and the highly capable off-road driving performance, and you end up with one very cool package. The underrated Triton sells for 590,000 rand. Before we take a closer look at the Hvar H9, let's just check if our guests are still okay. Oh, I think they will survive. Well, just. The 7-seat Hvar H9 is big. Big on size, interior space, 4x4 capability, luxury and safety. Yet at 600,000 rand, it sells for about the same as most high-end double-cab buckies. The huge Chinese car company clearly molded the H9 around legendary 4x4s such as the Land Cruiser Prado. It has a transfer case and an all-terrain control system which can send the power to the wheels with most grip to get through most sticky situations. The 2-litre 4-cylinder petrol engine is turbocharged and intercooled and produces 180 kilowatts of power and 350 Newton-meters of torque, the latter peaking between 1800 and 4,500 revs per minute. Power is permanently sent to all 4 wheels via a slick 8-speed ZF automatic gearbox. The vast 7-seat cabin is fitted with all the bells and whistles, and then some. The Hvar H9 is rarely a torchbearer for Chinese cars. and is proof of how far China's motoring industry has come in recent years. It is South Africa's best-selling bakkie. It's Toyota's Hilux 2.8 GD6, and it's still as popular as Braaivleis, Biltong and Charlize Theron. As always, the Toyota doesn't do one particular thing great, but it does everything so very well. The competitors just can't keep up. You only have to drive it round the block, and that feeling is clearly evident. This Hilux is powered by Toyota's 2.8-litre four-cylinder turbo diesel that delivers 130 kilowatts and 420 newton meters, the latter peaking at a low 1,400 revs per minute. Our unit was the manual 4x4, and it has a slick 6-speed manual gearbox. There's a transfer case, traction and stability control, and a brace of other electronic off-road gadgets. When you head off the beaten track, it's as capable as any other stock double cab, always retaining that solid feeling. We reckon it's the sum of all the parts that makes it so impressive. Hilux is this year 50 years old, and all that experience in making a bakkie a best-selling bakkie sure is evident in the latest incarnation. Right on the Hilux's heels is the Ford Ranger 2-litre turbo. The Ranger has been the biggest thorn in the Hilux's side in recent times, the double cabs occasionally managing to outsell their Hilux counterparts. Ford recently upped the game with their new 2-litre engine, available in both single and twin-turbo derivatives. We reckon this single-turbo XLT automatic hits the sweet spot in the value for money race. It's got a 132 kilowatts and 420 Newton-meter engine, a 10-speed automatic gearbox, leather seats, and the latest Sync 3 infotainment system, and it sells for just 580,000 rand. It's a capable 4x4 too, with a shiny on-the-fly part-time four-wheel drive system with a transfer case, traction control, and a rear differential lock. It's a really good all-rounder. Time to check in with our guests again. Ah yes, they seem to be quite busy. So let's head to the shops. When we return, we look at the last 3 vehicles and conclude the Mozambique adventure. Before we take a look at the 4x4s that joined us on the trip, a quick tip of the hat to the sponsors that helped make this adventure possible. Frontrunner is the purveyor of top-quality aluminium vehicle accessories, like the brand's popular slimline roof racks. And Opposite Lock is the local supplier of Tough Dog suspensions. Developed in the land of Aussie, the suspensions are tough enough for any challenge. Reino and Peter from the respective companies joined us in Mozambique in the Trick Isuzu 4x4, which was fitted with the latest and greatest kit from Frontrunner and Opposite Lock. The Isuzu MUX is up against the ever-popular Toyota Fortuner and the Ford Everest. And when you compare the Isuzu directly to the competitors and stare at the facts on paper, the MUX seems to be outgunned some. But cars are about so much more than just black and white numbers on paper. For one, the Isuzu is an Isuzu, and there are plenty of Isuzu fanatics who will not drive anything but an Isuzu. There's also the reliability record. The Isuzu's excellent ride quality on the rough and tough Mozambique tracks was another feather in its cap. It's a part-time 4x4 with a transfer case but no locking rear differential, and the well-known 3-litre turbo diesel engine delivers 130 kilowatts and 380 newton meters of torque, transferred to the wheels via a smooth 6-speed automatic gearbox. The Isuzu may be up against it in this segment, but Isuzu fans need not fall on their swords. The MUX still offers a heck of a lot of SUV for the money. Volkswagen's Amarok, which will celebrate its 10th birthday in 2020, has been given a bit of a fashion makeover with a limited edition dark label derivative. Based on the 2-litre twin-turbo model, the dark label adds 18-inch Rawson wheels, a max matte black roll bar and other colour-coded styling details, dark label decals and smoked tail lights. In the cabin, there's a darker headlining and Vienna leather seats with dark label lettering. Under the skin, it's all stock 2-litre Amarok. So you get 132 kilowatts and 420 Newton meters of torque. More importantly, the brilliant ZF 8-speed automatic gearbox is standing here, sending the power to the four wheels via Volkswagen's 4Motion system. It doesn't have a transfer case, but there are some neat 4x4 tricks, like the off-road braking system, which cuts down braking distances on gravel, and a very effective hill descent control system. It got through Mozambique sand without even breaking a sweat. At a whisker under 700,000 rand, it's not cheap, but hey, fashion has never been a cheap undertaking. And here's the last 4x4 in the lineup, the Mahindra pickup Kuru. And this 4x4 bucky is all about offering excellent value for money. It retails for just 374,000 rand, which is almost half the price of some of the high-end double cab buckies. And it's not like it lacks creature comforts either, ability or a modern touch. Powered by a 2.2-litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine, the Kuru delivers 103 kilowatts and 320 Newton meters of torque. The transmission is a 6-speed manual and the drivetrain is a part-time 4x4 set up with a transfer case. The engine is no fireball, but it certainly is no slouch around the city. Similarly, on the open road, the Mahindra will happily cruise at 120 km per hour in top gear all day long, while sipping less than 10 litres of fuel. The limited edition Kuru adds several neat tricks to the deal, like the nudge bar, cool wheels and tyres, wheel arches, a tonneau cover and roll bar. However, it's not quite perfect. The front seats are not the most comfortable in the game, and there were a few small quality niggles too. And that is that for the 4x4s. Our guests have meanwhile returned to Santa Maria, where the Leisure Wheels team was doing the last photo shoot of the day. With all the vehicles lined up on the famous Santa Maria beachfront, and with photographer Piet Mock creating his magic, the sun set over the Indian Ocean. Yep, money can't buy these kinds of moments. Back at base camp, it was time for a last amazing meal, courtesy of celebrity chef Callie Ann Gavazzi. And a local band from Inchaka joined the party too, for a fitting end to a grand adventure on the idyllic Machangulo Peninsula.